industrial food and trash system. It's an in-and-out model. We have several steps in the ladder. We have food coming from a distant farm that's being shipped to a packaging and processing plant, which is then being shipped to stores or restaurants, which is then coming to our table at home, which is then going into the garbage, what we don't eat, obviously, which is being transported either to a central drop-off location. In Amherst, you can take your trash for your individual household to the transfer station, or you can have curbside pickup. So that's either single-family vehicles or giant trucks. From there, it goes to a landfill or a transfer station, as we described earlier, and then from there to an ever-distant landfill. All throughout this system, we have resources coming in and going out of each of these tiny subsystems. It's entirely inefficient and wasteful.
And linear.
And linear.
So our mental models where food comes from a store, food is cheap, and all food is available at all times. This is basically like the current food system, how like most people think. And then for our structures that support the mental models are,
So the structures put in place to support these mental models are agribusiness, the government, chain grocery stores and restaurants, large distribution chains, global agribusiness. So essentially, like, there are these large grocery stores that demand that they get their bananas year-round and get their tomatoes year-round. So then, like, agribusiness supports that and says, okay, we'll grow this stuff really far away and ship it to you. And that's what supports the mental models of, like, there's really no season, you can go get strawberries whenever.
and because of those structures, we get patterns of behavior, which are people expecting and looking for their cheap food. Always having a fast food restaurant on the side of the road is like one of them. We see year-round produce, just like Mo just said. We expect to have bananas and tomatoes even when it's in the middle of December, and our produce is coming from really far away. And we shop at the grocery stores, even though we know that buying locally is probably better.
We don't want to eat cabbage all the time.
Yeah.
So the events that occur because of this are less local agriculture because there's not much monetary support. Food remains cheap and accessible even though there's costs that are being incurred on the food that you buy in the grocery store, and less money to the local economy in general because as food is like more cheap at the grocery store, more expensive at the farm, there's just like less money going into the local economy because no one's spending money there.
So we evaluated the iceberg that Amber and Mo just discussed, and we turned it into a causal loop diagram here. So to kind of identify and understand the patterns a little bit more. So as people are buying more commercial food, corporations are profiting more, and therefore the commercial food prices go down. And that causes people to buy more commercial food. And as people buy more commercial food, they're going to buy less local food, in theory. And as people buy less local food, small farms profit less, and the price of local food therefore has to go up. And as the price goes up, local food sells even less, which in turn causes people, in theory, to buy more commercial food. So the problem, or one of the problems that we were talking about before, relates to the waste, and that's what this little loop in here is. So as you're buying more commercial food, you're making more waste because it's coming in a lot more packaging and that kind of stuff. It goes bad faster, theoretically. And as the waste goes up, the landfill availability goes down. And as that goes down, you have to pay more to get rid of your trash. And as you pay more to get rid of your trash, people will begin to seek alternative solutions, which will in turn, theoretically, cause people to purchase less commercial food.
So one of the leverage points we thought of were to provide residents with composting bins, that if they had the composting bins, they'd be more likely to want to learn about what composting means and what it does for the soil, and they were to bring it to Simple Gifts, then it would increase the awareness of what Simple Gifts is about and increase the CSA share.
Yeah, we were just looking at the Simple Gifts farm system, and we were trying to determine what, as like just a small group of students, what point in that system could we really change anything at all. And John told us that they really, one big concern for them is their soil quality, because it's sandy in that area. So they're constantly, every single thing that they do in their system with their farm, they have grass-fed beef, but it's really just there to serve the soil. And we really wanted to help them increase their soil quality, so we thought that the composting system might be effective.
And in regards to the landfill issue, like when you decrease your food waste, there's less trash going into the landfill, obviously, and then we saw that would be decreasing trash pickup costs, landfills closing slower, and transportation back and forth from the land.
With these two issues, and we felt like the one leverage point would be the
Also, like increasing waste with no place to put it, like the closing of the two landfills.
So that's the reason why the compost hits these two nails on the head, because it brings consumers to the farm, so we perhaps will buy more local produce, and it increases the organic matter of this farm. And it gives like the consumers a stake in the farm, so it makes them feel like they are providing something.
And that was your leverage point, right?
This is our leverage point. These are two problems, one solution.
But you pointed out the desire to seek alternative solutions was a key leverage point, and that's how you were going to achieve that, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was really good. Nice connection.
Thanks.
Well, it's just because it runs the system backwards, right?
Right.
It forces everything in the other direction, if that is indeed a leverage point. Very cool.
There's lots of possibility for this. There's already been a committee looking into the possibility of a valley compost system. And within their research, they came up with a few numbers about how much waste each town accumulates, compostable waste. So for the city of Amherst, its total residents create 1,369 tons annually in compostable waste. That's 3.75 tons a day for each home in Amherst. And the restaurants, in addition to that, generate 3,409.5 tons annually. So that's tons, literally, of food going into landfills and taking up space, which could potentially go to serve the soil, not only Simple Gifts Farm, but all of the area farms. There's huge potential to just remove that from landfills and use it to grow food. So instead of limiting the space by building more landfills, we're literally growing more soil, which will basically close down this whole In-N-Out burger. Instead of having all these separate steps, we're going to take here and call this step Simple Gifts Farm. We're going to grow our food and buy our food in the same place. Support the farm, support the community, support farm education, etc. And then here, we're going to compost. Instead of taking our trash and putting it in landfills. We're cutting out all these middlemen by supporting a Simple Gifts Farm and their ideals, farm education, sustainable ag, blah, 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 increase. The community's desire to compost would theoretically increase. And as compost increases, support and success of Simple Gifts Farm would increase. And that is a really super reinforcing feedback loop. It just takes out all these middlemen and brings the program very simple.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. So we have our central composting in the community right here. I don't know which way to look. This is so weird. So as compost in the community increases, the amount of waste sent to landfills decreases, which increases composting. And also as composting increases, that increases the connection to the land and to the people, also known as Simple Gifts Farm, which increases the local food purchase, which increases the compost in the community. And it also is increasing the soil quality, which is increasing the capacity to grow food, which is increasing the compost in the community. And so we have our system.
We have, yeah. So from here, what we would have to do is more research and look about the big gap in our plan is how we're going to get the compost from the homes to the farm. And we've researched lots of different options in different towns and cities. There's the idea of Title People, which is already working in Northampton on the other side of the river. They've got bikes, they go pick up trash, recycling, compost, they bring it to the transportation in Northampton. That compost then goes to benefit Nestle and Belchertown. Another option that Emily found was at Providence, Rhode Island. Customers at the farmer's market bring their compost and drop it off at the farmer's market when they're picking up their vegetables.
And then that goes to the different farms.
It goes to the different farms.
So that would be the question of, what's that in-between step from the farmer's market to the farms? If they're just putting it back on their trucks and taking it back to the farms, that would make a lot of sense.
There's also the option of CSA shareholders bringing their compost to the farm when they pick up their shares. But that's not really bringing in new customers. So that's like our next step. We choose to pursue this further is closing that gap between compost and the farm in a way that's successful for both and cost effective. This would be very beneficial for restaurants in particular. There's a compost company in Portsmouth, New Hampshire that's picking up compost. They started with restaurants and all of their restaurant customers have been able to reduce their cost for trash pickup weekly by 75% just by composting. So there's a huge possibility to enlist restaurants in this program that would benefit them economically and benefit the farm economically as well.
I think it's also worth clarifying that we said that there's 2 problems we're fixing, but we're actually fixing 3. We're fixing the soil quality, the landfills, and the 10% bangle. So you keep switching. Yeah, have 2. You keep switching to 2. So there's really 3.